Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. I was at the mall with my friends when I saw her. My mother, the woman who had abandoned me years ago. I had built up a lot of anger and resentment towards her over the years, and seeing her there with her new family pretending not to recognize me was too much to handle. I remembered growing up wondering what I had done to make her leave me. She would always go out for work, but one day I came back home from school and she wasn't there, and I haven't seen her until that day. As I grew older, things began to make more sense to me. She was ashamed of us because we were not wealthy. Her friends were always in the high class, and she tried everything to be like them, though they would never come to visit us because we didn't live in mansions as they did. She tried so hard to fit in. Whenever we had to go out, she made us dress our best, and sometimes she would say something to her friends that were not true. My dad and her started to get into a lot of fights. When I was 16, I asked my dad what really happened. It was a very uncomfortable conversation for him, but he knew it had to be had. He told me that he had suspected that she was cheating on him because of the gifts she got, how lavishly she lived, and how she started spending nights away from home. He knew her job didn't pay her so much to be able to get the things she had. So he decided to look into it, and he found out that his suspicions were right. They had a big fight about it, and my mom said she was doing it for us, so we could live a better life. But my dad said he didn't need her sleeping around to do that, and he was capable of fending for his family. The next day, she didn't come back home. As I faced my mother in the mall, I knew I had to do something to get her attention and make her realize what she had done to me. So I approached her, pretending not to know who she was, and asked her for directions to a store. She looked at me with a blank expression, not recognizing her own son. I played along, pretending to be confused and asking her if she was sure she didn't know me. She insisted that she didn't, and I knew it was the perfect opportunity to embarrass her in front of her new family. I pulled out a picture of us from when I was a child and asked her if she recognized me now. She froze, realizing what she had done. Her new family looked on in shock and disgust. I could see the embarrassment and guilt written all over her face. It was a satisfying moment, but it also made me realize that I didn't want to be defined by my anger towards her. I wanted to move on and live my life without carrying that burden. But the story doesn't end here. My mother's lies caught up with her. She had lied about her background, her education, and her work experience in order to fit in with her new family. They found out the truth and they didn't want anything to do with her anymore. I saw karma hit her back. She was alone, and I could tell she was struggling. I felt a twinge of pity for her, but I dismissed it quickly. I knew that what she did to me was wrong, and she deserved to suffer the consequences of her actions. After the incident at the mall, I thought I could move on with my life like I said I would, but my mother won't leave me alone. She seemed to have a vendetta against me for exposing her to her new family. She had no remorse whatsoever and blamed me for ruining her life. One would think that after what she did, she would come back to her senses and make the right choice. But she did the opposite of what any sane person would do. I couldn't understand her drive for fame and wealth. What is the point of it all? At the expense of your own family? She threatened me on several occasions and promised to destroy me just like I destroyed her. Apparently, she had married into a wealthy home, and they thought she had some class too. But finding out that she was a nobody, they are embarrassed by her. The worst part is that she stopped working and had nothing to her name except accounts that were funded by her wealthy husband. She just lived off of him, so now she had no money. If she was smart enough, she would have saved up some or even started a business of her own. But that's the thing about thieves and gold diggers. They often can't sustain the money. Honestly, the drama at the mall was just for her to notice me and see who I had become and what I had done with my life. But she wasn't interested in any of that. Now I wish I hadn't brought her back into our lives because all that did was open old wounds and create new ones. My so called mother tried to ruin my reputation and my business, spreading lies and rumors about me. But I wasn't going to let her win. She wouldn't get the best of me, so I knew I had to fight back. She had hurt me and my family too much. I wouldn't get my hands dirty, but this time I was willing to go to any lengths to make her pay. I still can't believe that she was the same person who gave birth to me, trying all she could and using all the resources she had at her disposal to ruin me. Mothers were supposed to be nurturing and caring, but I hadn't even gotten a simple apology from her. I did my own research and found some dirt on her. I found out about her shady business deals and the illegal activities she was involved in. The best part was that she wasn't also faithful to her current husband. She had about 3 affairs, all with wealthy men since they had been married. If her new husband was thinking of forgiving her for lying, he definitely wouldn't forgive her for cheating on him with other men. I know it's horrible, but the thought of making her pay made me thrilled. I needed a way to get to the family, so I stalked my mom's stepkids on Instagram. I need to know more about them and find out where they visited. At the very least, I could get a clue to go somewhere else that would give me more information. My mom's stepkids were around my age and they were pretty active on social media, which was great. I was able to trace one of them to LinkedIn and saw that they were going to be at a conference. It was a business leaders conference, so I registered for it because it's also relevant to my field. There was nothing spectacular about the conference. It was like any business conference. Most people came for these things for networking purposes. The good part of it was that I was able to speak to my stepbrother. He was one of the people at the mall and he seemed cool to me. He was sorry that I had to live without my mom for so long. We spoke about a couple of other things and exchanged numbers, which was my ultimate goal. I didn't want to come off too pushy, so he wouldn't be uncomfortable or suspect that I had ulterior motives. He invited me for a get together they were having for his sister's birthday. He called it small, but it was far from that. Well, I guess to rich people that's small. I genuinely enjoyed myself. When everyone left, we got talking and spoke about how horrible my mom was for doing that. They mentioned that she was a great mom and tried her best, but she was very materialistic. My stepbrother didn't mind that my stepsister wasn't really a fan of my mom. I thought that was the perfect opportunity to bring up all the evidence. I told them about all her cheating and illegal activities and showed them the pictures. They were shocked and very disappointed. My stepbrother thought we should hide it because it would break his dad's heart further, but his sister didn't agree. She said she'd rather everything blew over now since it was still a fresh topic than later on. She also said she wasn't surprised and that she knew my mom was capable of such, but she didn't know why everyone else in the family fell for her charm and thought she was an angel. I also told them that my mom had tried to destroy me because I knew her secret. I didn't need to tell them this, but I did low key because I knew they could help me. They had a lot of money after all. So if I could get a contract out of all of this, it would be even more worth it. Call me selfish, I don't care. I'm taking a cue from my mother. My stepsister told her dad everything, and this time there was no going back. He froze my mom's accounts and stopped her from getting any access to anything that he owned. My mom is now alone and poor. She just circled around and came back to square one. If only she could have been faithful to at least one of the two families, she wouldn't have lost both. That's what selfishness and greed causes you. From my understanding, she had everything she could ever ask for, but it still wasn't enough. My dad is disappointed in me. He says he didn't raise me to be vengeful and selfish. I countered him with my argument, saying that my mom deserved everything that happened to her because of all that she did to us. She left us and never once looked back because we didn't qualify to be in the high class. NTA, your mom deserves all she got. She is lucky she was just cut off and not reported to the police. YTA, you are using the fact that your mom left you as an excuse to be malicious. I don't see how you are any different from her. You could have taken the high road. You also mentioned that you didn't mind getting a contract from your siblings. You are using them too. Don't be a hypocrite. I have a full biological sister, Bryn. She's 25 years old and I'm 17. My dad is her bio father, but was not in her life for the first 8 years. Mom then slept with him and conceived me. And when I was 1, he moved back in with us. Our mom died 3 years later, and Bryn went to our maternal grandparents because Dad did not win her over in the years he was there, and Bryn kept running away until CPS intervened and decided that for her safety, she was safer in a home where she would stay. Dad remarried, and at the time, his wife had 2 young kids, and they have 2 of their own together now. Bryn stayed in my life. We're close. She has been really generous to me, has taken me to cool places, and has kept a relationship going with me. She has never officially met my step or half siblings. She doesn't want anything to do with them and doesn't care if my half siblings are also technically her half siblings. She has one brother, me, and that's it. My step and half siblings know about Bryn and are aware when I'm with her and not at home. They have asked to meet her many times. They have wanted to include her in the family, but she has no interest. Dad told them he's her bio father, but was not a very good one, and that's why she's not involved. His wife thinks my sister is selfish for not meeting my half siblings, at least because they share blood. Bryn has been invited over to many things, and Dad has tried having a relationship with her. But understandably, she doesn't want it and considers herself an orphan since Mom died. My step and half siblings, who are all under the age of 10, were following me around to ask me to invite Bryn over and saying they want to see her and why won't she meet them, and it kept going and going and I was alone with them. I told them she's not their sister and that's why. That she doesn't want to be part of the family, and I know it sucks for them and they want to meet her, but Bryn gets to decide for herself. When my dad's wife got home, she was furious with me and said I never should have said any of that, and I broke their hearts and spoke on something that I had no way of knowing. I told her that she knows as well as I do that Bryn wants nothing to do with them. But still, AITA? NTA, the only real AH here is your stepmom. Your dad has acknowledged and admitted to his failings. You know how your sister feels. Your stepmom knows how your sister feels. Stepmom is the only one pretending things aren't what they are. Now she is putting the burden of her weird desire to lie about reality on you. It was never going to work for her in the long run. The longer the lie continued, the more hurt your half-siblings and step-siblings would be when the truth eventually came out. NTA, Bryn has made it very clear on multiple occasions to you and to your father that she wants nothing to do with stepmother and assorted other siblings. So stepmother is wrong to say you spoke on something that you have no way of knowing. She wouldn't know it too if she accepted the reality of the situation as it is instead of trying to force some happy blended family fantasy onto everyone. You put it as nicely as possible to the kids while still making the situation plain to them. And you wouldn't have had to do that if your stepmother didn't think her delusions outweigh reality. NTA. Your stepmom, though, total a-hole. I'm actually surprised your dad gets it. It seems like he's trying, but isn't forcing it with the kids and his wife because he knows that's not what she wants, which is commendable. He even told the kids why she doesn't want to be around, didn't even lie. Most wouldn't do that. But stepmom needs to get it in her head it's not changing. I don't know if your dad has spoken with her, but he might need to since she isn't listening to any of the kids. I, 36 male, have two kids with my ex-wife, Sarah, 35 female, a 9 male, and 12 female. My ex and I have always done our best to be good co-parents for our kids. We are what I call professional friendly and never really have a problem switching up the custody schedule to accommodate each other. We have 50-50 custody. I have been with my fiance, Emily, 37 female, for a few years now. My kids adore her, and she absolutely loves them. Sarah and Emily get along pretty well. There has never really been any tension or anything when they are around each other. Emily and I were throwing a get together for people, which included some of my family. Since Sarah still gets along quite well with my family, we invited her so she could see them. At one point, Emily was across the room from me, and I saw my daughter go up to her and whisper something in her ear. Emily just nodded and led my daughter out of the room. They came back later, and that was that. After the party, privately, Emily told me that my daughter had gotten her period for the first time right then. Of course, Sarah and I had already explained everything to her about all of that. So she wasn't freaked out or anything, but she had just asked Emily to come help her take care of everything since it was her first time. Well, when my ex-wife heard about it, she was pissed off. She was so offended that our daughter had gone to Emily instead of her. Emily told me, privately, that my daughter said that she went to Emily instead of her mom because she knew that Emily would keep it private and not draw everyone's attention at the party. My daughter said that she couldn't be sure that her mom would do the same. Her mom doesn't always handle things in the best way, and I could totally see her not just quietly slipping out of the room. Emily felt badly that Sarah was upset, but she was just trying to keep my daughter comfortable. I told Sarah that I'm sorry that she's upset, but that Emily was the one my daughter chose to go to, and that Sarah should be happy that there are two women around to support my daughter. Was I in the wrong? AITA? I've seen a couple of people say that I shouldn't have told Sarah the real reason why my daughter went to Emily. I didn't tell her. My daughter ended up telling her after the fact. My ex-wife then came to me angrily. NTA, jealousy is real, and I can understand why your ex would be upset, but the important thing is your daughter. I expect one of the reasons your daughter went to your fiance instead of her bio mom is because since it's her house, she would know where supplies were kept, and your ex-wife wouldn't. I was jealous of my ex getting in touch with our daughter after like 30 years. But eventually it passed, and now I'm just thankful that she has more people in her life that love her. It hurts at first, period. I think 99% of the people in the world would be jealous at first. But if you sincerely try to not make it a them-me situation, it can turn out well for everyone. Not saying it's easy or it won't take time, but it's possible and worth it. NAH. Emily acted perfectly in accommodating your daughter and making her feel comfortable. You supported your fiance, and you're right. It is amazing for your kids to have two mother figures that love them so much. However, a girl getting her period is a first. I imagine your ex thought that it'd be something that she could experience with her only daughter. Just like you'd get upset if you missed the first time your kid walked or said a word, etc. She is upset for missing a first, and I get why she'd feel insecure about her relationship with your daughter versus Emily's. I think it'd be nice if you tried to have your ex look at it from another perspective. Sometimes, in the moment when we're going through something, it's easier to confide in someone that we consider as being outside of the situation. Your daughter not going to her mom might actually stem from the fact that she was overwhelmed and needed to vent her feelings with someone whom she trusts and loves, but also is more detached. Emily. NAH. This is super wholesome, and I want to congratulate Emily for being an awesome adult that children feel comfortable confiding in. Cherish that. I hope Sarah can get past her jealousy and figure out how to be as supportive emotionally so the kids can trust her as much. I'm sure it doesn't feel good, but the fact that you've all been able to work things out so far is a good indication that she'll be able to make peace with it. You're doing the right thing by being supportive of your daughter's healthy choices. Now, you can also encourage Sarah to build further trust with her by respecting her boundaries. She's done a pretty darn good job so far. Make sure she knows that too. She just has this one area that could use some work.